Hello from Bougher Custom Guitars and Amplifiers and Speaker Cabinets and Cats and all that kind of stuff in Ardmore, Oklahoma. I'm out here in the Wild Hair Bougher Custom Guitar shop that's being converted, so there's ladders and crap every which way all over the room, stuff all over the place. So there's my camera spinning fun. So I'm out here and I am doing this, like I said, this is custom guitars and amplifiers and speaker cabinets and things like that. So some of my stuff is scratch made. A lot of it is scratch made, like I've said in the past. But some of it is highly customized stuff that's recycled from used gear, old gear, obsolete stuff, whatever. And I make some really kick-ass stuff out of it. And what I've done here is I have used the remnants of an old 412 cabinet that was a Japanese copy of a Marshall cabinet. And I used basically just the outer shell, and I redid the speaker baffle and the insides of it and the bracing and the back panel, and turned it into the very first Bougher 412 cabinet. And this is for my customer and friend Robert, and he's going to be using it in one of them chunky hardcore metal bands. And he provided the speakers for this project, and I just wanted to show you guys this inside the cabinet before I take it in the house and hook it up for some testing and stuff like that. But I wanted to show you the wiring, because there's something that I carry over from my aircraft days, is the wiring and electronics that I do. It's a specialty that I was in, the avionics electronics specialty in aircraft, and then also into quality control later on. So details to me, with things that have to do with ruggedness, durability, things like that, that's very important to me. So the speakers are put in here. It's a 150 watt cabinet, 412 speakers. They're put in with 18 gauge wires, which is pretty good chunky size wires. And even though they have the slide-on spade connectors on the two Celestion speakers, they're soldered. And the other two, they're old Altec Lansing 12s that are they're very, very old. They're the kind of the predecessor to the JBL 120s and stuff like that. But they have a screw type receptacle for the wire, so those are just wrenched down and they're solid. They're not going anywhere. But I make, when you wire a 412 cabinet up, all the wires have to end up in an input jack. A lot of them have the switching like Marshall, 2 jacks with 4 or 8 ohms in stereo and mono. You got a little circuit panel back there and it switches back and forth, and I've fixed a bunch of those because they fry themselves. So what I do when I'm making an amplifier that is a single impedance amplifier, 8 ohms, 4 ohms, 16, so on and so on, I wire it first to a terminal strip and attach that inside the amp, so that the only thing coming out to this jack is 2 wires. And that way it makes it easier to replace the jack, which is something that commonly gets broken. And it's also easier to ensure that it's more rugged, because the jack and the cable that's in the jack isn't vibrating the wires all over the place, and 8 wires in there all to that one spot. So you've only got 2 there, and you've got a terminal strip, and then that goes out to the speakers. And this particular one is wired up in 4 ohms. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to flip the camera around and show you that, and then I will take it inside in a little while, and we'll do some testing and some sound stuff like that. So let me flip the camera around and we'll show you this. All right. So there is the 2 Celestions, the GT75s. Those are the common Marshall type cabinet setup. And this is the old Altec Lansings. These things they're not pre-JBL, because JBL was before Altec Lansing, but these are kind of along the same lines of the JBL 120s. And these things are beasts, man. These are crazy good speakers. But I don't know where he came up with these things, but that's pretty darn cool. And they're very old. They're probably early 1970s, possibly late 60s. I'm going to think probably somewhere around in the 70s. I don't know, because I didn't look them up, but they're pretty kick-ass. But anyways, this thing's got the 2 Celestions in the top and the 2 Altecs in the bottom, so it'll have a lot of bass response on the bottom end. And there is my terminal strip. that I put together for the wires. And it's a big glob of solder on there, but it's actually a glob of wires, not a glob of solder. They're good solid solder joints, but they're a lot of wires going to one spot. But what I do is I gang them up so that you end up with all the positives on one side, because these are all separated. Positives on one side, negatives on the other side, and then I'll grab one lug here and one lug here and pull 2 wires off to the jack, which will be sitting somewhere up in here in the back panel. So that way you got just one set of 2 wires coming out, hook them up and be done with it. So it just makes it a whole lot more reliable. It also keeps the wires short, and you notice that I twisted the wires. A lot of the signal carrying wires, it's a good idea to do that. It reduces the magnetic field coming through the wires, so you end up with a cleaner signal going to the speakers or going to wherever in the amplifier it needs to do that. But it also keeps the wires neat, so when they're all organized in here. But they are solid, and like I said, the spade connectors, I put a little, if I can get them to focus, I put a little dab of solder on there. There you go. And then these are just they're the screw type. I pull the wires through there, and I flip the end of the wire around like a J-hook and then tighten it down, and it'll have no tendency to vibrate out of there. So anyways, that is that. And like I said, it's a typical 412. I'll have it standing up on its wheel, or on its feet here in a little while. And I will have that in the shop and hook it up, and we'll hear this thing cranking. So we'll see that in just a bit. So back to my wild hair. Whoa! I got the whole hair thing going on. So happy Easter, everybody. And more on that in a minute. So I will cut this off, and we will go on in the house here in just a moment and go into the guitar tech room, studio room, and crank this thing up and annoy the cats as much as possible. So talk to you in a bit. Bye. All right, so here we are in the shop. Bougher Custom Guitars and Amplifiers and brand new 412 speaker cabinets with the little crate power block on top of it. And got it all dialed in. And it's pretty dang loud. That's about a quarter, a little bit more of the quarter of the way up on the volume. So there's all the clear tones on it. So that looks like it works. So that is the very first 412 cabinet, custom 412 cabinet to come out of Bougher Custom Guitars and Amplifiers in Ardmore, Oklahoma. So there will be more in the future, except that I learned something about this one. Using the wood that I used on it was quite heavy. So in the future, I'm going to probably make them like I do my single 12-inch guitar combo cabinets, make them out of pine like I have in the past, because it rings better for one thing, and it's although these you want them to be a little more chunky, but it's also about half the weight of the plywood and things that we use in the big cabinets like that. So I'm probably, if I make another 412 cabinet for a customer, I'm probably going to make it lighter, because that thing is a pain in the butt to move around. But that's, again, why I don't play 412 cabinets personally. All of my stuff that I've gigged in bands, the biggest has been a 212 cabinet, and it was a pine open back cabinet because it's lighter weight. So anyway, that is that, and I will holler at the fellow that owns this thing and have him come and pick it up, because it's too darn heavy for me to have around the shop. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later. It is Easter weekend. Have a God-blessed Easter, and everybody be safe and happy, and enjoy your time with your families tomorrow and Easter Sunday. And I will be back on here on Monday, because we have the day off from my day job, and I'll be doing a few other things with some guitars. That blue one in the back, actually both of those on the wall, I hope to get them completed over the weekend and Monday. And we're making a little progress. It's whittling away at the pile of stuff that I got backed up on, but it's getting there. So anyways, happy Easter weekend. Easter weekend. Yeah, say that fast. Happy Easter weekend. Everybody be safe. God bless you, and I will see you soon. Bye.